Education. What is it? Education is one of the most essential aspects of one's childhood and adolescence because it provides the necessary skills for a bright future. Much like a fire, the flame must burn for all. But for some, it's radiant, while for others, it's bound to be dimmed. Across India, socioeconomic disparity creates a divide seen through healthcare, provision of food, and quality of living. However, educational disparity is arguably one of its worst effects. It creates a domino effect, not allowing underprivileged children to seize opportunities and only increasing the poverty in the country. In India, this dilemma is monumental, with over 15 crore children not enrolled in schools in India, according to our education minister, Dharmendra Pradhan. This can cause disastrous effects in the future for underprivileged students as well as the future of India.
In a survey we conducted with over 100 students, we found that a total of 91.2% of them believed that education was vital. However, we also found that only 27.3% of them thought that educational inequality was a severe issue. Amongst other causes, majority of these students believed funding was the main cause of this problem. After we built awareness by conducting sessions about the multifaceted problems our national education system faces, they started to understand the many hurdles that underprivileged children face. Moreover, the students displayed more understanding of the deeper consequences of educational imbalance and promised to spread their learnings, creating a domino effect that will create change for the better. Why do you think education is necessary and vital?
Yeah, I think education is quite necessary, especially for those who are like impoverished or like their social status is low, because that's really the only way they can sort of improve their situation and sort of create a better life for themselves. You know, people, especially in India, are living in such conditions where they don't have food, they probably don't have devices, they don't have basic things like space to live, their houses get flooded, things like that. And I know this from personal experience. So just to be able to like change that situation, you need the education to get into jobs and get the money. But more than just that, it's also about changing your mindset and changing your perspective. You know, through education you also learn a lot. Like you're able to think differently and just have it like a change in your thought process, and you're sort of open to more perspectives and opinions. And so that's also what education does. You know, the hard skills that get you the money as well, but it's also about that inherent mindset change that education brings with it. So I think it's really important like that everyone gets an education.
Economic deprivation beginning from a lack of education or low educational status causes social stratification and results in depression. This results in communal riots and social crime rates going up. Such unfortunate happenings cause a lot of problems for the nation. Maintenance of law and order becomes a difficult situation, and the progress of the nation is greatly hampered.
Poverty is said to be a curse. Low earnings lead to low intake of food, resulting in poor health, also leading to a lack of access to medical facilities and ignorance. This results in very poor general health of the deprived sections. Primarily, ill health is a social cost. Hunger and below par nutrition leads to a worse performance in education. A consistent substandard performance in education makes people forsake education eventually, leading to a further deprivation and inequality.
The Teams platform is a very robust platform. It's also one which is very well developed, and so that allows education to take place almost seamlessly. We're fortunate in having an infrastructure which allows us to do that.
They might not be aware of how to go about using Zoom or things like that. So the initial stages we had these issues, so we were scared. And what happens is when they have big families and small houses, so their kids are basically having one phone. So the siblings has an issue. So if there are 4 siblings using one phone, then the planning of the classes and how to arrange the parents also were very confused about that.
Educational disparity creates a rift between the privileged and underprivileged, a rift that only grows bigger with time, unless we work towards actively making a change, one subject at a time, one student at a time, one future at a time. NGOs across India are actively working to combat lack of education due to poverty or limited access to schools in rural and semi-rural areas. Non-governmental organizations like KC Mahindra Education Trust, Udaan India Foundation, ENH Foundation, Angel Express Foundation, Doorstep Education, and many more, working towards an honorable cause.
So we have begun this activity in the 1988, when I was also like a student like you, and I came across large number of students who were actually not coming to the school, and I was doing the school dropout, and I realized that these kids are not going to the school because they were working. So at that time, there was a large number of students who were actually working into various industries like a fishing industry, rag pickers, hotel industries, working at the different stalls and working at the station and like that. So we found a very big number of children, and when I started talking to the children, and I was teaching them in a non-formal education, I realized that these kids were very much interested into learning, but unfortunately they cannot go to the school because school timings are not suitable, plus they have to support the family, so they have to earn, and they want to learn but they cannot go. So there was a dilemma into that if we will start putting these children to the school, that they might drop out again, and there will be chances that they will be neither in our program or neither will be in a school. So what the thought was given, that if the children cannot go to the school has to be brought to the children's door. So that is how we have a doorstep school. So wherever we find the children, we bring the school at the children's door. So this is how we have started teaching 25 students in 1989, and right now we have in Bombay and Pune, we have more than 1 lakh students. Now, the thing is, the scenario is changing over a period of time. When we began with it, there was a lot of out-of-school children, but now there are number of out-of-school children has gone down. But there are more children to whom we have enrolled in a school, and we are supporting them by giving the extra education. Why this? Because they are the first generation learner, and they need a lot of support. There is no support system at home, and they are also coming from different language. Like you will find the students who are in Tamil and some other language, Banjara and all, but they are learning Hindi and Marathi. So for them, it's a new language. It's like a different language. So they need support. And in the family, no one has been literate. So our target is right now first generation learner, whom we have been teaching and putting them in a formal school. And now we are working with them to see that they should sustain the school, they should complete the schooling, and they should get the quality of education.
Internationally, there are a plethora of educational systems, each of them having their own assessment criteria and aims. Public schools in India, as compared to those in the rest of the world, are underfunded and not given enough attention by the government, resulting in an overall decrease in the quality of education. For example, according to a personal testimony, public schools in the United States have more government funding, resulting in more advanced technology and curricula, which is updated regularly by the various state boards. According to a newspaper, Indian students that went on an exchange program to the Netherlands were surprised by the number of facilities and rooms present in classes and technological appliances used by the students.
Okay, so this is a multifaceted issue. The first one is money. If you want better, spend more. That's a universal in every aspect. And you can tell what governments value by what they spend their money on. That's the fundamental metric. But spending money by itself is insufficient. You have to change certain long-established practices in terms of teaching, in terms of learning, and in terms of assessment. So unless you actually go to the fundamental crux of the educational process, spending more money may not actually change the situation. It's about educating teachers, administrators, students, and crucially parents. The education has a different focus to that which traditionally it's had, where the ability to remember large amounts of information has been a critical part of the traditional Indian education system. Not to decry that, because we talk about conceptual understanding, but conceptual understanding without actual knowledge is of very little value. But there has to be a kind of step change in terms of how Indian education sees its measures of success.
We have many schools attached to us for the CAS activities, definitely. And apart from that, all the students from 9th or 10th, basically we take from 11th and 12th graders, so that they connect well with the kids, because they love learning from Bhaiya Didis. So definitely it would be good that if youth of India touches with us and they bond with us, so that they basically have a knack to attract them. So I think it's good to have student volunteers also with us.
In conclusion, educational development is adversely affected by the negation of equal opportunities. Ignorance, absence of progressive outlook, weak educational demand, and poor adaptation of modern technology all ruin the hopes of education for the impoverished.